I'm ready when you are. Yep.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, The Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome new show this week. All kind of crazy stuff going on in the real estate world. Huge news in the mortgage world. We'll talk about that and what happens there and what to look for, what that means. We have the brand new micro market numbers in from last month, and they're very interesting. A significant decline in sales last month. Myrtle Beach, for example, 29577 down 36% year over year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what prices did as well. The good news, though, price is still steady, climbing high. So we'll break down the micro market numbers, what's happening, your zip code, your neighborhood, so you can kind of know. And they're all, kind of all over the place. And so obviously it depends on which area, which demographic, type of properties. Is it single family? Is it condo? We'll talk about that. And overall, kind of forecast what's happening in the spring market. We did have a little bit of a wrench thrown into that with this new interest rate. We basically saw the rates sky high to the roof, one of the biggest jumps we've seen in a long time. Just this last week, coming off the heels of some inflation data from that CPI report. We'll talk about what that means, how that's affecting everything. We'll also talk about something how last week's show just did not get a chance to get to. Statistically, the best week of the year to list your home is here. We'll talk about when that is and why and what that means overall with that. Talk about a couple of horror stories. I've still seen a few horror stories I'm seeing out there. Some amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it, doubling down, burning the candle at both ends in this spring market. And we're in a very interest rate driven market right now. And so what's happening, we're seeing a lot of people move earlier than we have typically, at least this early spring market. So that's good news. Pending deals are still significantly high, which is very good. And so we're definitely into that spring market. And as usual, we have a investment fund with millions of dollars that's looking to buy properties, just instant cash offer as is for a fair price. Flexible closing date, it can be as little as, week and a half. It can be as long as 90 days, whatever. I've just did one recently. We closed 90 days out because they were buying something down south even further, and they wanted to time the new construction with us buying it. So we do that as well. We also have an amazing scholarship out there that we're looking to add to our team. We have a real estate school. If you're thinking about getting real estate, if you'd like to serve people at the highest level, you want to join the #1 real estate team here in Myrtle Beach, reach out and call us 843-808-SOLD. But as usual, doing the same thing on this show we've done for the past, I think, 14 plus years. Maybe the math on that, maybe 15 now. But we're just here to serve you, help give you information about the real estate market, to keep you updated so that you can make better decisions with, for most people, one of the largest assets, which is real estate. And so if you ever want to come back and rewatch these, go on YouTube, just type in Blake Sloan Radio, hit subscribe, make sure you do that. We have a lot of people that subscribe to our show on there. One of our success stories today that we'll talk about is somebody who subscribed to our YouTube channel. They watch all our stuff. We sold the property, had a great experience, which is super cool. You can also go follow me on Facebook under Blake Sloan, on Sloan Realty Group. We stream that live on there every single week. And then also you can go to podcast, just type in Blake Sloan Radio Show on the podcast. Been doing that for years and years. And the same goal is to give you information so you can make better decisions. Any questions you have, feel free to reach out. Love the shows in the show, but lots of great stuff on today's agenda.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you're not sure who you're listening to or what you're listening to, it's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. You may be seeing him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends, the morning show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing, but the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and that's the whole entire reason to this show. Obviously, I've been doing this for a long time, and I just found out early on in doing the show that there's a big problem with consumers, and that's you guys, right? The big problem is they make this massive mistake over and over of thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it just happens every single time. It doesn't matter how fluent they are, it doesn't matter how well versed they are in real estate. they still make the same mistake. I mean, over and over and over. And the mistake they make is thinking that all the real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth. And I just made a promise that like I would just share that in every show, because that's really all that matters. Like you just have this awakening or eye-opening realization that, hey, what if agents aren't all the same? What if they're just like doctors, lawyers, any other type of human, right? Any service-based business, you're going to have a great experience with certain people and terrible experience with other people. And the main differentiator there is really their commitment to excellence, their knowledge and know-how in the actual business. There's two main parts of that, right? Trust comes down to two things. Number one, can you trust that they actually understand and can do the job at the highest level? Number two, can you trust them individually as someone who's going to guide you in the right direction based on their internal morals and values and things like that? And that's something you see over and over and over, cost you a lot of money. One example I briefly shared last week, it wasn't our client, but we were on the opposite side of that, is a seller who basically had to drop their price $88,000 because they didn't have over 3 different instances in a transaction because they didn't have an agent who was quality to represent them. But most people don't realize it's your largest asset. People spend 20, 30 years building their hard-earned equity, but only 15 minutes picking an agent. And when they do pick the agent, they don't even know what questions to ask, right? They're just picking by the gut feeling in their stomach or the cheapest one or whatever it is. And it all comes down to value, right? How do you get the absolute best value, the best service, the best pricing? And obviously get the fair price. And that's something that I think we specialize in. But the reality is the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Nothing else, not your wall color, not the grass quality, not the time of year you sell it, not the amount of clutter you have, not the amount of junk you have in the garage. None of that matters. What matters the most is the agent that you choose, period. And it depends on how they execute. And obviously some of those things can be managed, but that's by far not the biggest one. And it's just like any doctor, any lawyer. I share this all the time, but it's so true. And it's such a great reminder. Just like any doctor or lawyer, if I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, I don't really want a part-time attorney who's only tried a few cases in the last 12 months, who's just, a nice guy or a nice lady, right? I want the most absolute, amazing, I'd say, aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law, because I want them to give me a competitive advantage in that courtroom or in that process of litigation. And that's the same level of excellence you should demand for your largest assets, either primary residence, investment property, commercial property, whatever it is. You got to understand the nuances and the ins and outs. And why that is there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket. Anything's handled incorrectly, it costs you money, or the property doesn't get sold. And even now in the hot market recently, about 48% of properties don't sell. And they basically get past the 6-month initial listing period, either relist or come off the market or go with someone else. And that still happens. And really worst case, what happens is that your property does sell, but because it wasn't marketed correctly, you end up just dropping the price a lot and you sold it for under what it should have been sold for and what it was actually worth. And so what we did and say, look, there's got to be a better way than this traditional old school model. The old school model is at the 3 Ps. They promise you will to get the listing. Number 2, they put it to MLS. And the 3, they just pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're down the street trying to get the next listing because that's how they survive in the business. And so that's what really leaves you as a home seller on the sidelines, just begging and praying that somebody can sell it, and end up having to drop the price when really the service is actually the issue. And so what I did is went out and said, look, how do we make sure that we can manage all these variables and create a system that's proven and repeatable that creates maximum leverage for our clients at every single point? And we did that, designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that's almost twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, 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 very well. You owe it to yourself if you're thinking about selling ever, or if your friend or relative, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, whatever it is, if they're thinking about selling, owe it to themselves to just look into and just inspect it, right? Just smell it a little bit and say, hey, is this something that's different than anything else? And when you see it, it absolutely blows your mind, because most agents operate in the old school 1990s mentality, that 1990s processes where you have one single agent trying to juggle all these balls. And it's just like having the same person, McDonald's at the front register, the drive-thru, and the French fries at the same time. It doesn't work very well. But when you have a team of specialists and systems and processes that manage all of that, you get a much better experience. You manage those variables proactively, and it allows you to sell properties faster and for more money. And so that's what we do with that Guaranteed Sold System. Our business model that I design allows us to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint in terms of what we do. And that's absolutely documented, proven. The average agent on marketplace sells less than 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. So there's not a whole lot of money to eat with, much less spend in marketing to get your property sold. And so they just default back to taking some photos on the cell phone, putting it on MLS, and then just praying that someone else brings a buyer. Well, meanwhile, it could be match up to buyers instantly. It could be having multiple offers on all these things that help drive up the property price. and the speed in which it sells. And that's exactly what we do. On the flip side, there's 100 plus variables for buyers out there. It's very difficult when there's low inventory and a very chaotic marketplace right now. Interest rates up, interest rates down. Some areas have lots of inventory. Some areas don't have lots of inventory. And so you want to make sure you have a true expert who can guide you. And so we designed this thing there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation, purchase price, as well as the home inspection to get you that closing table successfully. And we have one goal with both of those. We just want to be your real estate resource for life. We help you with plumbers, electricians, lawn people, whatever you need, we got you. And that's how we always operate with our client. And just give them that white glove service. And so if you want to know more how it works, reach out, call me. 843-808-SOLD. It's one of your largest assets. You don't want to gamble with that or just go by chance or pick the cheapest one or the first one. Like, take some time to make sure that you can get back to them, right? Make sure that you can get back to the agents. And I was just thinking about an instance where we had somebody called in, spoke to their office, think about selling it. We called them back within 2 minutes. They didn't answer the phone. We called them back again in an hour. Didn't answer the phone. They called us back a couple hours later. So, well, we actually already met with somebody listed. Just one single person. Looked at that person. They only sold 2 houses ever. And so it's just one of those things, like, you want to make sure that you understand, like, this is a huge asset. It takes some really strategy. It takes understanding, how am I going to do this, and having a strategy designed out that's able to make sure it manages those variables proactively. And we do those with 2 things: a team of large people, 30 plus people on our team. And each person on the team is a specialist, meaning they're very, very good at what they do. We control all the variables by doing it in-house versus having someone else do it. And we're able to back it up with technology as well. So if you want to know more how it works, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime. We'll be right back in a second.
With every election, there are issues that directly impact your family's future. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here, and the same is true for your real estate transactions. Now, when you sell your home, you need to speak to one of the agents right here in town that will get you the most money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. You know, options like an instant offer, or lay out your timeline and take advantage of their guaranteed sale program, or just put it on the market and get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD, or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds, and then you can start packing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, pay cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Radio Show. Brand new market update, all kind of stuff going on right now in terms of the market, and we'll break it down for you because that's what we do every single week. But interesting, we got the real-time numbers we'll talk about. Those are like the windshield numbers. Hey, what's going on right now real time? What's going under contract? And it's still in pretty high. I foresee and I'll forecast right now you're going to see that drop significantly the next couple of weeks because interest rates. But it's still a seasonal market. Still, people are coming in town. People have been stalking properties for 6 months up north, being miserable in the cold, and they're coming down here buying stuff. How do I know that? Our team has appointments every single day with those people. And so if you look at the overall windshield numbers, right, that's what I like to track the most. I track it every day in my office. It's how many properties in our MLS, which is like Brunswick County, Horry County, in the Dillon, Marion area, down into Georgetown County, all those areas, right? And so in the last 7 days, there's 561 properties went under contract for $214,909,000. That's really good. That's a lot. It's actually above where it was last week. Last week's show was 556 for 201 million. Anytime we're at 200 million or more, and it's really good. It's one of those things that anytime it's over 200 million, the market's still rock and rolling, which is what we see in that spring summer market. A lot of big time homes moving this week under contract. We saw a lot of big money come in town. The last 7 days, there's 17 properties over $1 million went under contract. Walk-A-Mall Drive in Myrtle's Inlet, obviously Garden City. 3.4 million in Inlet Harbor under contract. Another one, Myrtle's Inlet Point, went under contract for 2.99 million. some land out in Conway for $2.5 million, a property in Waverly Creek, $1.9 million, and we had a property in Pawleys Island going under contract for $1.7 million, which is huge. So lots of properties. We had, let's say, 17 over $1 million, 3 properties over $2 million, 1 property over $3 million, which is huge for Myrtle Beach. Lots of big money there coming in, which is awesome. And that a lot of those are cash deals too. Looking at properties over 500,000, there was 500 properties over 500,000, which is significant. And what you're seeing there in terms of just inventory has been slowly climbing. And that's great news for home buyers. Decent news for sellers. It's not really helpful if the inventory climbs, but it's not drastic where it's really going to affect. Inventory has gone down up, so it's gone up a little bit since last week. As of right now, this very second, there's 1,076 resale homes on the market in Horry County. Last week's show was 1,055. So up slightly, not too much, which is good news. And if you look at the rearview mirror numbers of like, hey, what closed last month? I'll give a quick recap for anyone that missed last week's show. And then we'll get to the meat, which is, hey, what's going on in the micro market? What's going on in my zip code? So closed sales last month down significantly from March of last year at 16.6%. So if you go to March of 2023, there was 495 properties sold, closed. This year 495. So last year 495, this year 413. That was the kind of the overall. So it went from 495 to 413. Sales price still up though, which is good. 5.3%. Median price right now, $394,000. That is a new record. We talked about last week's show. It beat their previous record of $389,000 in November of 2023. It's back up to $394,000, which is a new record here for us in the Grand Strand, which is great news. Average sale price is up 13.2% at $506,000, which is awesome. It's not quite a new record, but it's close. We also had a record last November 2023 for $515 for average price. Right now, it's back at $506. One thing protecting that has been inventory. And so inventory right now, 3.4 months. It dropped as we saw a huge run in February to March when rates were back down to 6s. People were, buying like crazy. So in February, there's 3.6 months of inventory in the market. It dropped down in March to 3.4 months inventory, which is still what we call a super seller's market. The seller has the advantage in that situation. What it means is there's a lot more buyers than sellers. And so inventory is a really hypothetical equation that if it's basically the run rate. If there isn't a single property listed at their current sales pace, how long would it take to run out of inventory? And right now it's 3.4 months. Anything less than 6 months is a seller's market. Anything more than 6 months is a buyer's market. And we're creeping up on that happening in the condo section. We'll talk about that. It's in the high 5s right now overall. Showings per listing is averaging 4.8 showings per listing right now across the entire MLS, and it's down 12.7% from last year. The amount of average showings it takes to get a contract, though, is 13.4, and that's down 8.2%. So here's the main problem. If your property hasn't sold, the average listing is getting 4.8 showings. It actually needs a showing 13.4 to be able to get a contract statistically. And so that's just something that you look at overall based on your strategy, but that's probably a lot of times why the property hasn't sold, just getting not enough eyeballs in there for people to see it and pick it overall. If you look at closed sales for condos, it was down significantly, down 24% from last year. So if you go to March 2023, it was 563 properties closed. It was actually the busiest month of the year last year. Last March in 2024, only 428. So significant decline there. Overall, average sale price for condos is still positive, which is great news, up 8.3% at $284,000. Median price right now for condos up 4.3% as well, $240,000. Supply, this is kind of one of the most interesting pieces of the number there, 5.6 months of inventory. So we're creeping up on getting that threshold of between buyer's market and seller's market, and I haven't seen that in a very, very, very long time. Overall, I have to probably take the chart out to like 10 years to be able to see. The last time we were at 5.6 months of inventory was, I'll tell you right now, May of 2020. So significant there in terms of that. So May of 2020 was the last time there was this many condos on the market overall. And that was obviously once we saw things with COVID kind of tighten up and all the inventory and the madness went crazy with the listing. So that's interesting to look at overall. Like I said, the good news is supply is holding pretty tight for the most part, below the 6-month threshold. But showings per listing, the average condo is getting 2.7 showings right now. The average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 9.1. You can do the math and see the problem there. Most of them just aren't getting enough traction, enough buyer eyeballs, enough people looking at it to actually pull the trigger on it. That's why marketing is so important. That's why the agent that you choose is so important. And so that's just something you want to make sure you take into account. I'm going to jump in really quick to the micro market, hit a couple quick places. If you want to know more details, reach out to me. We have an amazing tool where I can give all this data to you for your house, your neighborhood, everything. You can get it on blakesloan.com. We pay thousands of dollars a month for that technology, and it's super cool. You can just talk with a quick chat bot on your phone, answer a few questions, and boom, it gives you your own dashboard that you can, if you have 6 investment properties, you can put all 6 on your dashboard. It'll have all of them there for you. It'll update you how often you want to, or as little as you want to. It's super cool. You can click one button, get a cash offer on it online. It's super, super neat. So looking at Myrtle Beach, 29577, 29572. This one really shocked me a little bit. Sales in March were down 36.9% for single family homes. So last March, there's 84 closed sales. This March, only 53. So very, very interesting numbers here. Median sales price, though, is still through the roof. Right now, it's up 16.7%. Last March, it was 471. This March, 550,000. So significant increase there that's costing people to buy overall. If you look at percent of list price received right now, they're getting 96.8% of list price. Last year is 97.9. So that's gone down a little bit because the market has softened overall. And the days on market to sell is actually down, though, which is interesting. Last year it's taking 159 days on average to sell a property in Myrtle Beach area. Right now it's taking 110. So that's good news overall. Condos also down significantly, down 36.7% in the 29577, 29572 zip codes. The overall price is still up, which is great, up 2.5% from 219 to 225,000. Inventory is through the roof. This is one of the most shocking numbers here. So last March in Myrtle Beach, there was only 482 condos for sale. Right now, there's 1,119, 132% increase. And so that's just because they're seeing the market a lot longer. There has been some challenges that we've seen from condo owners that are due to insurance increasing, a lot of assessments. We've seen a lot of people we've been helping. We've been able to help a lot of people whose HOA went from like $300 a month to $700 a month. Plus, they got hit with an assessment of multi-thousands of dollars because a lot of people's insurance went up 3 and 4x. Some cases we saw one that went up 6x for a townhome that we were actually looking to buy, which was just crazy, right? One of the homeowners, they just couldn't pay the HOA dues and the assessments they had. So you want to be careful about that. If you have that situation, reach out to us. We've been really specializing that a lot lately, helping out, because if you have a large condo building or a complex with 30 condos in it, you better make sure your marketing's on point, because the only separator is going to be price, if not, right? And so you want to make sure that you have the right marketing, the right photos, the right virtual reality tours to help differentiate from everything else out there, so you can get more buyer traffic and help separate. And that's where we're good at, where I'm basically a marketer in the real estate business. And so anybody that's in a struggling situation like that, have them reach out to me. We've had a lot of success where we'll sell them, even though there's a lot other ones that are priced below ours. And so that's just because we're able to get those views. We're able to get that differentiation online. If I can increase, the click-through rate 10, 15%, that's a lot of extra, thousands of extra people are looking at the property online just by us using that process. So that's interesting. North Myrtle Beach, single family sales down 45% in March, which is crazy. So last March, there were 72 sales. This March, only 39. So 45% drop. The good news, though, price is still up 7.2%. So last year at 498, this year at 534, which is awesome. Right now, the average days on market is 110 days in North Myrtle Beach. It takes 110 days on average to sell a property there. Inventory is pretty much flat with 165 on the market. Last year was 164. Little River area houses, the sales were up 18.8%, which is awesome news there. Prices also up, only up 1%. Last year is 372. This year 376, which is awesome news there. Overall, the average days on market right now in Little River to sell a house, 135 days. Loris area, Longs area, sales actually up 2.9%, which is awesome. Last year's 103, this year 106. Prices almost dead on the same. Last year the prices were 304,600. This year 304,370. So just a slight drop there overall. The average days on market right now to sell a house in Longs and Loris is 128 days. Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, sales down 17.7% for single family homes. Prices are down, though, which is one of the few that we see a decline in. Last year, the overall median sales price was $419,950. This year, $393,000. So that's interesting. And the second piece here that's interesting data there, which is why you want to make sure you get a really good realtor if you're in Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet. Inventory is up 49%. So last year, in that 29576 zip code, there was 163 properties for sale in March. This year, 243, which means properties are sitting longer and you have more competition overall with that. In the Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, the 29576, sorry, we just did that. Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, Pawleys Island, Litchfield area, 29585. Sales up significantly, up 60.9%. So it's smaller data set. So last year there were 23 sales, this year 37, which is awesome. We've been selling a lot in Pawleys and Litchfield lately. We had one lady call in who was tracking some type of data. We had the highest price per square foot sold on multiple properties, multiple neighborhoods in there, which is really good. We're very, very good at the high end stuff. Median sales price last year was $520,000. This year, $685,000. So a 31% increase. Overall, it's still a high demand. Like I mentioned, we're still seeing a lot of high-end buyers buy because they're just moving in from up north, and they still see value in what we have here. Inventory is up 19.7% in there, and the average days on market it takes to sell a house in Pawleys and Litchfield, 106 days. Last one here, Georgetown. Closed sales up 23.8%, which is awesome. Price is pretty much flat. Last year, $380,000. This year, $376,000, and it's taking on average 158 days to sell a property in Georgetown, which takes a little bit longer than a lot of those. If anything you want to know about your area, your neighborhood, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. We have that tool on there, like I mentioned, that gets things, your instant value anytime you want. Right now, the big news overall has been interest rates. One of the things that we saw, the CPI report came out this weekend. It really shocked a lot of people where it was much higher than people intend or expected. That in turn affected the bond market, also the stock market, and the interest rates shot up over a quarter point just in one day. So last week's show, for example, rates were 6.99%. Right now, as of this second, 7.3% for a 30-year fix, which is crazy, right? It's high. It's not too bad, but it's a big jump in a matter of a 7-day period. 15-year fix, 6.75%. A 30-year jumbo, 7.51%. A 30-year FHA loan, 6.7%. A 30-year VA loan, 6.72%. What's that mean if I'm a home seller? You still want to get your property teed up as soon as possible. We track a lot of the Fed data. They were expecting another interest rate drop, either May or June. That's not going to be happening based on obviously this inflation data. What we're seeing, everybody kind of calculates that is not most likely not happening. So if I'm a home seller, what I want to do is I want to get our property on the market earlier than later because you may see rates rise even more, and you still want to tee it up directly along with what's happening in the overall spring to summer market when everyone still comes in. We're a seasonal marketplace here. Everybody knows that about Myrtle Beach. You're starting to see people wake up and come in. And so you definitely want to get your property on the market sooner rather than later. Very, very helpful in that scenario. Dave, we got like 2 or 3 minutes? 2 minutes. We'll skip that one last, the commercial there. I just want to get to our hot buyers alert, which is super important, and success stories. One thing we do every single week is we work with a ridiculous amount of home buyers, and we just share it. We put our money where our mouth is. I outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. We've been averaging about $70,000 a month driving traffic online, different places, different websites. And the average agent doesn't make that, much less than that in marketing in one single month. And so that's how we're able to have what we call buyers in waiting for your property. Right now we have 75,946 active home buyers looking to buy properties here in our area. Like right now, I got Wendy Dunn from Lancaster, New York. I got Dean West from Sophia, North Carolina. I got Jan Brown from Miami, Florida. Gene Morrow from Reedsville, North Carolina. I got Debbie from Asheboro, North Carolina. I got Deb from Providence, Rhode Island. Just all over. We have a global reach. And so if you're thinking about selling, reach out to people who have buyers in waiting. That's us. Really quick success story. Jim Donahoe in Myrtle Beach and Myrtle's Inlet recently decided it was time to move back home to be closer to family. Since he was starting to get there a little bit in age, he wanted to make sure he sold his home for the absolute most amount of money because where he's going, housing costs a lot more than it does here. Where he's going. So he had seen many of our YouTube videos online and knew exactly who to call when he was ready to sell. That's super cool. We met with Jim, shared we had thousands of buyers looking for exactly what his property was. I came in, I designed a plan, I priced it aggressively high. We launched our global marketing a little bit, professional photos, virtual walkthrough, drove massive traffic within a couple of days, had a fantastic offer, almost full asking price. Now Jim's able to move back, be close to family, and have maximum money in his pocket. And also, Carmelo owned a home in Georgetown. Did a ton of work upgrading the home to make it his own. Recently, his fiance and him decided to move back to North Carolina. He wasn't sure if he should rent it or sell it because he had just put so much money in it. He didn't know if he'd get a return back on his money. Thankfully, he heard about us on this radio station, gave us a call. We showed him the difference between renting and selling and showed him we could get it sold for way more than he had in it and get some extra equity out. I designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual walkthrough, drove massive traffic, had it under contract in a week, and we negotiated for it to be as is. We're going to make any minor repairs, nothing. And the closing went smooth as well. So you want to be a part of that, reach out, 808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com anytime.